Psych Profile. One of the main new gameplay features for Shattered Memories is the way the world reacts to the player's actions, known as the Psych Profile. Different actions yield different results, in a manner more advanced than the simple, good or bad, responses that have been prevalent in most games that use this mechanic. This will affect certain aspects in the game, such as what buildings will be open or closed, which characters will be met and what clothes they will wear, and variations of phone calls and text messages on the in-game phone. Real-time decisions made by the player, such as which restroom they enter first, affect the game in many ways. As well as this, there is a sequence at the beginning of the game where the character is given a psychiatric evaluation by psychiatrist Kaufman. The mode here is first person, and the player must answer questions regarding their personality and psyche. They can nod or shake their head in response to questions. There are many psyche analysis sequences throughout the game, many of them obscure. In one sequence, the player is asked to color in a picture of a house, among many others. These, and almost all of the player's decisions made during the exploration sections, will help determine certain elements and encounters within the game. Exploration. The flashlight is a recurring item present in nearly all the Silent Hill games. It returns in Shattered Memories with improved visual effects, and in the case of the Wii, it is a major form of physical interaction that helps to keep the player immersed in the game. Rather than moving a controller's analog stick to maneuver the flashlight, the player will physically move the Wii remote around, using its motion sensor capabilities to interact directly with puzzles and to aim the flashlight. Changes to the exploration aspect of the previous games include that when Harry examines something, he vocally responds, a first in the series. The camera is fixed behind Harry in an over-the-shoulder view. There is also more immersion in the game's HUD system, as instead of switching to a separate item screen, Harry holds his phone in his hand instead. Loading screens are absent, and loading times when opening doors are almost always instant. The player can also collect up to 25 mementos. They serve no in-game function, but instead are collectibles which can be closely examined according to the console's controls. Phone. Harry has a modern-style phone which has an important role in the game. The player can use it to dial many phone numbers that can be found on posters, billboards, signs, etc. throughout their journey. The player can also receive texts and photos from others, including memories and thoughts from the past. Typically, the recordings Harry listens to reveal that not everything was as pleasant as it seemed. In the Wii version, recordings and phone calls can also come through the Wii remote speaker, and players can put the speaker beside their ear, as if using a phone. The phone has a camera that can be used to uncover secrets by taking photos of the player's surroundings. These are known as echo photos, and can also be saved in a gallery. Harry's phone has a map of Silent Hill with GPS global positioning system software allowing the player to locate Harry's position. Waypoints can be added, and the player can also draw on the map. The phone also replaces the radio from other Silent Hill games, emitting static when raw shocks are nearby. While using the phone, the player is still susceptible to enemy attacks, as well as being able to move. The phone is the only way to save the game. Nightmare sequences. To add depth to the fear and tension aspects of playing the game, combat has been completely removed in favor of evading enemies during surreal ice world nightmare sequences. Shattered Memories is the first Silent Hill game to feature permanent loss of combat, as the game is meant to avoid confrontation to make encounters with enemies more intense. The goal of these nightmare sequences is to find the exit in a maze-like environment as soon as possible before the raw shocks defeat Harry. Certain doors, fences and ledges that Harry can interact with are highlighted by light blue frost. They are intended to show the player that they can go there. They should not be mistaken as the path to safety. The raw shocks chase Harry and seek him out at all times. They pursue him through rooms, over fences, under crawlspaces and drag him out of hiding spaces. However, there are a number of actions Harry can do to evade monsters, such as jumping through windows, climbing fences, and barging through doors while on the run. In the Wii version, the Wii remote speaker acts like a radio, delivering static to the presence of raw shocks. If a raw shock becomes too close to Harry, it will jump on him and grapple him. When Harry is grabbed by a raw shock, the player must steadily and quickly thrust the Wii remote and nunchuck at the same time in the direction in which the raw shock grabs them. E.g., if a raw shock jumps onto Harry from the front, the player must thrust the Wii remote and nunchuck both at the same time forward. The player can also knock down certain objects, briefly delaying the raw shocks. Certain places such as wardrobes and underneath beds can be used as hiding places to try and avoid detection. If Harry is detected, the raw shock that discovered him will let out a scream, alerting nearby raw shocks, and proceed to yank Harry out of hiding. During each nightmare sequence, the player can find one or two flares to defend themselves temporarily. The heat from the flares negatively affect the raw shocks, giving Harry invincibility for about 15 to 20 seconds. If Harry's stamina is lowered enough, indicated by VHS tape-like effects on the screen and by Harry's limping, Harry will collapse. There is no penalty if Harry collapses, and Harry will return to the very beginning of the nightmare sequence so that the player can keep retrying.